Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Bahram. I'm an electrical contractor in Vancouver, BC. And in today's video, we are going to one of my customers' houses to remove and disconnect EV charger with the energy management system, as the customer has now sold the property and is going to a new property. So we're going to be going into the current property, disconnecting everything, removing everything, and then once we get all the permits in place, then we're going to go ahead and reinstall everything at the new property. So come with me today as I'll show you how we do that. See you guys in a bit. All right, everyone. So we are here now at the job site. As we can see, they have a charge point hardwire type of charger here. It's going to this DCC energy management system, and this is their main panel here in the garage. So the idea here for today is that we're going to disconnect everything, turn off the breaker, remove the wiring going from the panel up to the EMS, and then remove the whole EMS, wiring, and the charger, so they can reinstall it back at the new property. So we have turned the breaker off, and then we're just going to start removing everything and go from there. All right, so one thing I want to look for is to see if I have any fillers for the panel, because obviously removing that breaker would also be best, but I'm not sure if I have any. If I don't, that's okay. I can just leave it as is. I do have spacers here. I don't think these are the ones, but I'll just double check these. And again, van is a mess. Gonna have a video coming out soon as I kind of like throw everything out and reorganize everything, because as you can see, it's not in the best shape as it can be, but it works, you know. As long as we have everything and we know where everything is, that's the important part. So yeah, just looking around for some fillers. So yeah, as you can see, not a really good setup here. Got our both 6-feet ladders and the 10-feet ladder in here. I'm looking at getting a roof rack, hopefully soon, to make that a little bit better organized and a little bit easier to obviously walk around in here. I'll be looking at that soon as well. Just remove the cover here. This just kind of turn this way to unlock. You have to pop this piece out, and then we want to remove just these. As you can see, these are like little waggle style, right? So those can get removed. Remove the connector. These ones here, they have one screw that kind of goes on the inside, and it gets screws on the top that kind of gets hooked on. So as long as we remove this, which wasn't very secure at all, this kind of just comes off. So this screw was like a butterfly style. So it was kind of holding it through the drywall, because I guess there was no stud there. And that's it. So one thing that I just want to show really quick as well is that if you look here, you can see that with these chargers, so they have this type of setup that this is the hardwired cable. It comes pre-installed from the factory. They have the ground here, and then the two lines that makes the 120 volts, so 240 volts. And this also have the low voltage here connector. This kind of communicates with the charger with the actual head over here, right? So the car chargers, the way they work is that they work through this kind of, as you can see here, the click. So that click, when this is plugged into the vehicle, when you press down and it makes that click, that stops the charger. This is kind of like a safety feature that they have. Some maybe work a little bit different, but they all have that feature, because you want to make sure that as you're wanting to remove this, let's say it's charging and it's not fully charged yet, but when you click this, it stops the charger. So when you disconnect, you don't have any like arc flashing or any kind of shorting still with a 240 volt going to the vehicle with the charger, which is a great feature to have. Okay, now like I mentioned, we are just removing all this equipment for today, as they're being reinstalled later on. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this away for the customer, so when they do move to their new property, they could take this with them. Once everything comes through, we get the permit set up, we can go back and reinstall it for them. You want to make sure it's nice and tidy, so they don't, you just throw it in the corner somewhere of the house. That way, it's safe and they don't get damaged, so you don't have any issues, or the customer doesn't have any issues with that. I'm gonna leave it in the corner here. I think they're gonna move it today anyways, but I just want to get it out of the way. All right, so this is the EMS, right? So you could see they had the cable kind of going with the take cable to the charger, but the actual EMS is wired through the inside, coming down to the top of the panel. So we're going to see if we're able to remove that. Okay, so now we also removed the energy management system. I'm just leaving it here. So with this energy management systems, the way that they have is the main wire, of course, that's going to go from the panel to the EMS, and from the EMS to the charger. But they also have CTs, or current transformers, that with this type and the system, that also goes and goes on the main lugs, on the main kind of wires that gets connected to the main wires coming into the house from like in this case BC Hydro through the meter base. So the way it works is that it keeps reading the current that's being used on the home, on the property, and then based on the amount, within a certain amount, less than the certain amount, it will make the EV charger stay on and work. But if not, then it kind of turns it off. Even if the charger is plugged in, it will still keep it off. And they really do that to make sure with this system, so like you do not need to do a power like a service upgrade. This home has a 100 amp service coming into it, and this charger is a 60 amp charger. If it was just on a regular basis, everything else being electrical as well, it wouldn't be able to use a 60 amp unless you do a power like a service upgrade to increase the power for the home. So that's what they have to set up, and I will show you that to you shortly. So here we can see when we take the bottom cover off is that they do have this CTs that kind of gets wired into that energy management system that was at the top. So you have one on each line. So it's kind of monitoring both 120, 120. So the 240 volts coming into the main of the house. All right, so here was the EMS that we have removed. I have to let the homeowner know to get a cover for that. And for here, I did not have any fillers here to install for that, so we're going to turn this off, and we're going to write off that it's going to be a spare circuit. So yeah, so we can leave it at that now. So now we just have to wait until everything is processed, and once everything is ready to go, then I'll be able to go to the customer's new property and install the charger there. But for now, that's it for today. Okay, another job done. Now we're gonna head back towards our own suburbs. There's one more job that we got to do today, another service call. Then we're gonna head on over to that site now. So we'll see you guys there. All right, so just because we were kind of far away, I have to stop here for a top up for a charge, and I just figured I would show you guys this. Here is the kind of the charge port on the 4E transits, and as you can see, it has this top part here, this top portion, and then this part flips down. This part is for the DC fast charging. So at home, you just use this, and then for DC fast charging, it kind of plugs into this whole unit, so the top and the bottom. So here's the unit now, right? So what we got to do, this is at the CCS port. Some Mitsubishis or things like that, they have the CHAdeMO, as they call it. So here with this CCS, we just unplug it. These cables are very short, but they kind of plug in, make a little click. You come back to the screen here, it shows you that it's plugged in. And then I do have the BC Hydro card here as well. I'll wait for it to scan, make sure everything's okay with the vehicle. There we go. It shows us authenticating, so it kind of ramps up. It's doing a pre-charge test. Make sure the connection is good and the vehicle is able to take the charge. These are like the transformers, so as you can see, it comes from the pole there from BC Hydro, right? And it comes down, they have it on the ground. This is like the BC Hydro kiosk, they call it, which it just has like the connections inside with the meter. There's a 2 charger setup. We're out here in Mission, a city outside of the Vancouver kind of suburbs here, and maybe about I think it's about an hour and a half from downtown core. But yeah, so you can see it gives you some details. It's saying that this is a 100 kilowatt charger. Right now the battery's at 27%. This is a 200 amp, and that's kind of showing what voltage and what amperage is kind of being charging at. The vehicle is requesting 70 kilowatts at 200 amps. So it's kind of giving you some details there. These are the fast chargers. So again, just because we were kind of out, we came to a place called Chilliwack here in BC, a little farther away from from Vancouver. I just have to top up a little bit for about 15-20 minutes. Add a few kilometers before we can head back. And these ones is good. This is a Superstore here. There's quite a few BC Hydro like DC chargers that are in the Superstore lots. I don't know if they've got any kind of contract or setup, but yeah, as you can see from there, that's the BC Hydro pole. BC Hydro provides, obviously it's from themselves doing it anyways, but it is a 3-phase. I don't know if you're able to kind of see that or not. It's pretty, doesn't zoom in that well. But there is like there's like a 3-conductor with the ground or the neutral that kind of comes down, goes to the kiosk, and then from there it goes to each charger units. Some places have 1, some places have, this one has 2, some places have more than that as well. It all kind of depends on the area, I guess, and how many chargers they get approved for. I don't know why they don't put more. If you ever see Tesla chargers,
I've never seen anything less than like 10 or 15, which is a good amount that you want to make sure you have, so that way when people are traveling or even throughout the day, if they want to top up, they're able to do that. So I'm not sure why they only put 1 or 2. These cables are also very thick. They don't have any sizes on them. Here, kind of taking a look at one here. This is like a newer model. It's more like digital here. The other one had like a small screen. But this one is 50 kilowatts, so this will charge a little bit slower. Through BC Hydro, you could either use their app, you could scan this barcode and also do payments that way, or the card. When I kind of have this set up, I have the app as well that I can use, but they always kind of recommend for you to have the card, just in case there's no cell service or anything like that. You're able to use the card, which sometimes is obviously very helpful. So this is through BC Hydro and Clean BC. As you can see, a lot of feedback that I get regarding some people who either don't want to have EV vehicles, or they just they said they had it before and they get rid of it. Usually is because it's due to experience regarding the charging. Because most of the vehicles now, passenger cars, they're okay in terms of range you get, but not so much experience-wise you get in terms of for, let's say, if you don't have a home charger. So let's say if you have to come out to a site like this and charge your vehicle daily or every 2 or 3 days, it's not very convenient, right? Obviously, if you have a gas vehicle, you go to a gas station, but that's a very quick visit. But if you have to come here and charge up, it could take still, maybe 45 minutes to hour and a half. I remember when I first got this van, we were living in our condo and I didn't have a home charger or level 2 charger. Even a level 1, I couldn't really plug in or anything like that. And even if I did have just a regular plug to be able to charge with it, it wouldn't have been useful because it wouldn't have charged enough for me to use it on a daily basis. So myself and my father would kind of take turns coming to one of these BC Hydro sites and charging, whether it will be later at night or early in the morning. So as you could see, that gets very inconvenient. But the good thing was for myself, and I had my father kind of being able to do that charge with me. So it kind of helped out. But again, very frustrating. Very kind of gets annoying after a while, right? So that experience kind of pushes people away from the EV chargers. The EV vehicles. So because of that, if you ever hear someone, when I hear someone talking about that, of course I'm curious, so I always ask them. And I would say 90% of the time it would be that, and the other 10% would be range. Which again, like I said, right now with the new vehicles coming out, the Teslas are obviously really good, but even all the other brands are pretty similar. You should be able to get at between 300 to 400 kilometers per full charge, which is pretty decent, right? Some people compare it on, let's say, if they want to go on a road trip, and again, that's going to be maybe once or twice a year, maybe more for some people, maybe less. But for that, you have enough these type of DC fast chargers, either through BC Hydro. There's some other brands like ChargePoint and Flow that also are available. And also you have the Tesla chargers, which are pretty good all throughout the US. I know they have quite a bit. In Canada, along kind of highway number 1, you also have them enough that, you're able to kind of make your trip possible. Now again, you have to be wary of it. Again, it's not going to be as common as, let's say, the gas stations, but then again, they have enough that you're able to make your trips happen. As you just have to plan it out very well. And any extra stops, any extra driving you do, you have to take that into consideration. Any stops you want to make along the way, maybe go off the path and come back, you gotta make sure that you plan for all of that, right? So you don't get stuck somewhere in the middle of nowhere, especially when you're going on a road trip, right? So keep those things in mind. And again, those are the most common things that I get for feedback from these. With the EV chargers nowadays, like I mentioned, they're doing very well for their range. But again, you have these available throughout the cities. It doesn't matter, all the way from Vancouver to Burnaby, New Westminster, Delta, Surrey, everywhere you go, Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, they're always adding more every year throughout the city and even outside of the cities as well through BC Hydro. And then again, like I mentioned, they do have other ones for Tesla and things like that too, that people can obviously, if you have the adapter, which every car you buy should come with a Tesla adapter as well. If not, you could always order them. This Ford came with it. It didn't come right away. I had to wait about 5 or 6 months for it to come in. They were out of stock on it, or at least that's what they told me. And then, but it came in, and I have it in the van, just in case, right? Now that I have the home charger, you know, I'm not worried too much. But again, you could always, you know, like I said, make other stops. It happened one time. I didn't. There was a BC Hydro charger there, so I didn't have to use it. But we were kind of like, you know, working far away, and then we were going back home. But then one of my contractors contacted me and said they want me to come to another site that was like in the opposite direction of, you know, where we were going, and I had to kind of turn around and go back there for another kind of like, not emergency, but something that they wanted me to kind of get fixed right away, so they could continue on with their work. And you know, obviously, having this van, you have to plan everything, but something like that, you can't really plan around. But when I went to that second site and we were going to go back home, I said that I only had like 20 kilometers of range left. But you know, going back home was around 60 kilometers, right? So, and again, I don't know how accurate those are in terms of, like, you know, when it says 20, if it's going to be actually 20 kilometers, or kind of depending on your, you know, of course, depending on your how fast you're going. If you're having the AC on, stuff like that will also make a difference for sure. But again, I didn't want to risk it, so there was a BC Hydro around 5 kilometers away from where I was. So I'm gonna stop in about 20 minutes or so, topped up. Even from about that 20 kilometer of range, kind of all the way to around 110 kilometers, I think it was. And then obviously I got home, and then I was able to charge at home overnight. So that's the one good thing with these two. One other feature that a lot of the smart chargers have is that you're actually, like the level 2 chargers at home, you're actually able to go in to the app and be able to add like a time for yourself, right? So you're able to kind of go in and say, okay, like I want to charge between, like, you know, 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. and that's the only time that the charger would work. Otherwise, if not that, then it won't work. So that way, like, you know, if you want to kind of use it in a time when there's better kind of cost for energy for like your hydro, it makes sense you could take advantage of that, right? So that's another good point with those smart chargers as well for the home chargers. One thing I also want to show you guys here too, this is the BC Hydro app. Just gonna skip all these ones. So as you can see, normally it just shows the map, and you can go up here and search like on the map where the chargers are. You can see it shows there's 2 chargers, and one out of 2 chargers are available. One is in use, which is the one that I'm using, obviously. That's the other one that is free, then you could start charging. Up here they call it include a picture, so you kind of have an idea what to look for when you come into the site if this is your first time visiting that area. And on here kind of gives you more details in terms of how much they charge per kilowatt hour. Here is 39.69 cents per kilowatt hour in Canadian. And then if you click on it, I believe it kind of gives you a little bit more details. Yes, it shows the maximum 100. Like I mentioned, this one's 100 kilowatt. Kind of zooms in. 100 kilowatt charger. The other one was a 50, and you know, they have an idle fee after 5 minutes of 40 cents per minute. GST at 5%. They kind of gives you a little bit more details. And this is in Mission and Superstore. Like I mentioned, I have the card, but even through the app, I could come in, I could grab the cable, plug into my vehicle, and then I could start the charge from here as well. Here kind of gives you some details how busy here could be, right? And it's a public charger, it's not a private chargers, so anyone can come stop here and kind of top up and charge as much as they want. Some areas have a time limit of, let's say, 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Just kind of, you know, making sure no one comes here, sits here all day. And then when you're charging, you get this little bar on the top that kind of shows the battery level, which is at 46% now. Duration, I've been charging for about 12 minutes and 33 seconds. And I have taken 14.2141 kilowatt hour. And you can click on it and kind of get some idea here too. I've added around 59 kilometers of range. On average, it's about 72.6 kilowatt that I'm taking from the 100 kilowatt charger, which is pretty good. And the cost is around $6.43. Even if I want to, I could stop the charge from here, or I can go up to the charger and press the stop button. That also stops it as well. That's the BC Hydro app. It's very well put together. You can also go up here. This is the wallet. You kind of see how much money you have. You could add money right on here on the wallet. It's very easy to use. And again, the only time that this would be an issue is, let's say, if you don't have any internet access. So then, you know, you cannot obviously use it, right? There's the information there. And then you could also get cards, the RFID cards, which, like, I have one. And if you lose them, you can keep requesting them. They're not free. I believe they're maybe like $5-10 each or something like that. But yeah, but the app is very well put together. You know, you can kind of zoom in and zoom out and see the different chargers. We are here in Mission, so you can see there's some. This is Chilliwack. So they've added more chargers Sometimes like you have to just take a look at it. So this charger in Avisport, this is 1 out of 1. I know this is another DC fast charger. So you can see, yeah, it says DC in the top here. You click on it, it shows you it's a 50 kilowatt charger. But these other ones that shows 8, this is a little bit newer, I think. But if I click on it here, I can see that these are also DC chargers. So before they didn't have these. And again, you could click on the picture here and it kind of shows the chargers. So you kind of know what they look like and where it could be located within that area when you go. Up to, I believe it was like last year, they only had that one. So that's obviously very inconvenient. So they ended up adding more. And that's one of the good things with BC Hydro. They're always looking to expand. They're always adding more chargers throughout different cities. And, if you keep zooming out, for example, depending on where you're going, as you can see, there is, 2 here, there's 10 there. And then, these are like kind of going to the Okanagan area here in BC. So there's like 5 here. And again, these are all DC chargers. And this one, like right now, all 5 are available. Sometimes it could be out of service and then you're able to kind of see that they're out of service. BC Hydro is pretty good at, getting people out to those ones and getting them back online. But again, it does happen and there's something to just, make sure you understand. But again, even with BC Hydro, they have a long way to go to like making sure there's more chargers being added. As there's more incentives and more people are looking to kind of get into the EV world here. And I guess, changing from a regular gas to a EV, and that's going to be the biggest thing that's going to come from I guess the governments with the rebates like the BC Hydro, Clean BC, and then making sure the contractors like myself, for example, are trained and they know how to install them, how to service them, to kind of make it more convenient for people to move to EV. Otherwise, if it's inconvenient, not a lot of people will. Even though the gas prices, are getting a little bit higher now, especially because of the Iran war. It is something that it can help and make an easier decision for people to actually upgrade to an EV vehicle. And I'm just gonna go and unplug. We're pretty much done. So I can either just again hit this button to let go, or I can come here first. As you can see, it's still charging. I can hit the stop button and then it kind of clips off. The charge ended, stop by user. So we just unplug back here, plug it back in. Do not throw these on the ground. They can damage the ports. It's not common, but I have seen people just unplug them and just throw them on the ground. Obviously they don't care enough, but if they do that, obviously that's going to damage the heads, right? And then when the next person going to come in, they're not able to use it. There we go. So I think it ended. It's not going to say, but on the screen also shows you how much the cost would have been. But also if I go on the app, it will show that as well. So that's another charging. I'm gonna get back on the road and go to our other service call that we have. See you guys soon. All right, so we just got to our second service call for the day. It's a little bit closer to home actually. It's just a building kind of complex here, so there's no parking that I can do on the outside. I have to go park on the street. There's a fire lane and no parking zone, so I don't want to get a ticket, and I don't want to just park anywhere that I want. I hate when people do that, companies do that, because if there's an emergency or something happens, then you're blocking people's way. So I'm just gonna go park on the street really quick. So with this one, the customer that's called me for it, she's noticed that 2 of her wall plugs are not working. So either they've lost power or something has happened that is obviously not working. So we gotta go investigate, troubleshoot, see what's going on. All right, so we just went inside the unit. We were checking out the 2 receptacles that are not working. These are your kitchen counter plugs, which is going to be the most common problem with them. Is either going to be obviously a trip breaker, something along the line of some other issue, which in this case it was. Yeah, so with this one, it was the main issue was actually the GFCI. That's going from one, the circuit coming in, and then the circuit going out to the second one. So the GFCI is the one that's causing the issue. It's not working anymore, so we have to replace the GFCI, and that should be it. Yeah, so normally something like that is actually very common, when it comes to the counter plugs, because the GFCIs, they have like a test function to it, and they're so long that they could last. So because of that, you run into issues that actually the GFCI will die after so many years, as so many other electronics working inside of it, just like your appliances, for example. So they have a little bit of less of a lifespan than your regular outlets, even for the counter plugs. So because of the GFCI, that's the one that's causing the issue. So now we're going to go in and see if I have any GFCIs in my van that we could replace for right away for the customer. If not, I will have to go and get another one from the supply house. Looking over here, now these are 20 amp. I only have 15 amp it looks like. And I do have a 20 amp. Make sure it's not black. Look at that, it's black. The black one, 15. Okay, maybe I do not have one. That's why we gotta organize the van a little bit too, so we know what we have, what we don't have. Because again, something like this, I hate to happen, but it does happen. You know, can't have everything all the time, but it's just annoying. Because, you know, a GFCI is something that, you know, we should have. Let's go check down here. No, just here that I would carry it. One of the last jobs we did, we kind of cleaned up really quick, so everything could be in anywhere really. I want to double check before I make a trip down to the supply house. I think City Electric, they're open till 4:30, so that's why I have time. And nothing on this side. Alright, so I'm just going to call the customer and let them know that I have to make a quick trip. Luckily, it's not too far from here, so I can just make a quick trip, go see if they have it. Alright, so one thing I did also want to mention regarding the GFCIs, because that is one of the most common things that we find the issues with when the receptacle is not working. So either it has just tripped, which a lot of people don't know that, you know, they have a test and a reset button, and it could just be something that has tripped that GFI, or it could be something more of like the GFCI just like ran its course of, you know, life, and it just has to be replaced. Just because a lot of people don't know that also with the GFCIs, they do a self-test by themselves every 30 days, once a month. So that way the GFI is always in good condition, and what happens is, like, when they do the final test and, you know, is at the end of its life, it does not reset, and you cannot even reset it manually, and that's how you know that it's time for it to be replaced. So if you have any that kind of issues, you know that could be that could be possibly one of the problems. If not, it could just be a simple reset of, you know, just going up to it and just clicking on the reset, and then you're able to, you know, get the GFCI working. Another part of it too, especially if you have a 20 amp circuit for the GFCIs, you also want to make sure that you check the other counter plugs, because the newer codes are for the past, I believe, like 14-15 years. The code is when you run a home run or a circuit, they can be on a maximum of 2 per circuit. So if you have a GFI not working, there could be potentially one more plug that is also not working. So you want to double check for that as well. Alright, so now we're gonna go head back to the customer's house. We got the 20 amp GFCI, so we can replace it. And then from there, we're gonna test everything, make sure it works, and that will be it. And that's why one of the key points here too is, you know, making sure you have a properly stocked van, so you don't have to make these kind of trips, right? Obviously cost you cost and money, and try your best to keep everything. Of course, you can't have everything stocked, but, you know, unfortunately, the last job we had, I think we were short on some of the GFCIs, so we actually ended up using some of the spare ones that I had that's just for stock, but we ended up using it for that job. That's why we're out. But in anyways, that's where you want to come in and make sure you're having it as a stock, so you always have it. All right, so we're all done now for today. So today, as you saw in the morning time, we kind of went a little bit far from where we are, about an hour and 15 minutes or so. We kind of went to that site, just had to remove the EV charger with the energy management system, so we can get it installed later on at the new property that the homeowner is going to. And then kind of showed you guys the charger for BC Hydro chargers that we have here in BC, you know, hence BC Hydro. And then kind of went and did the other service call regarding the GFCI that was kind of not working anymore. So that's kind of like what a typical day would look like, depending on what we're doing, obviously. But, you know, this is for today. You know, sometimes, of course, we have projects that, you know, we just kind of go into that one site, you know, for a couple of weeks. Other times, you know, we have service calls. Tomorrow I have another, it's not a service call, but it's another service type of work that we're going to tomorrow, as well as Friday as well. Today's Wednesday. So day to day could be a little bit different, and that's why I kind of like the work as well. That way it's not boring, you know, you're not doing the same thing over and over. Kind of doesn't get repetitive or doesn't get boring. Even if I do this kind of similar work on a daily basis, I don't really get bored, but still, I know for a lot of people that's an issue, and they kind of like the change, they like the different types of work that they do, you know, different sites they go to. You know, one day you could be in a, you know, bigger city, or next, you know, you could be in a, you know, suburb. Next, you know, you're working on a farm, for example, right? So a little bit different. Just kind of depends on your own preference, and obviously, like, you know, your customers that you have and the different projects that you're taking on. So just keep that in mind. And one more thing just to keep in mind here, when we're going to our service calls, some of them are kind of repeat customers that we have, you know, whether it's commercial or residential. Some are kind of new customers, of course, that, you know, they got our number either through like a referral or just on Google, maybe they found us. But in any case, I always like to treat all my customers the same, whether, you know, they're repetitive customers, you know, I've worked with them multiple times for the same project, same property, or even new projects and new properties, or whichever it may be. But even for the new customers that I get, I treat them the same. You know, you want to be really respectful. You know, at the end of the day, you're running a business, you know, and you want to show that, you know, you are kind of operating your business and yourself, conducting in a professional manner. You know, from time to time, you know, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to get, you know, some unhappy customers. You're going to get, you know, maybe a bad review here and there. So because of that, you know, it's not going to be always the same type of experience that you also get as feedback. But you want to do your best to be, you know, as professional as you can be. You want to make sure, you know, all your jobs, you know, you're kind of leaving them in the best that you can, and not having any issues with your customers, with your contractors, and so on. So that's it for today. Thank you for coming along with me for just one of our days here. If you like this kind of content, I kind of like kind of shooting our day to day too. So let me know, and I can kind of make more of a, you know, a day off, you know, electrician, for example, or just, you know, kind of showing our jobs and the type of work that we do. And again, just because we do everything from residential to commercial, renovation, to new construction, we do a little bit of everything. So if any part of it is interesting, you know, as long as I have the jobs, of course, I'll be more than happy to create content around it and provide information any way that I can. For either if you're just interested, or if you are, you know, getting into the trades, or just want to know more about that type of work. So just let me know. Like and subscribe. Please let me know again on any contents that you would like to kind of see from me. Again, like I mentioned, take care, stay safe, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.